this is Barb from MissMetabolism.com. Today's video is all about squash. So when it gets cold out, it's natural for us to start to crave those starchy comfort foods like pasta and rice and bread and potato. Well, what keeps me from going overboard on those items is to rely on winter squash instead. Winter squash is great because it's also comforting and tastes really carby, but as you can see from this chart here, it's actually a lower calorie alternative to some of those other foods. So it will fill you up for fewer calories, but also give you some fiber and additional phytonutrients. So here I have the most three common types of winter squash that you'll see at the supermarket. Acorn squash right here, it's the most calorie dense and it tastes a lot like sweet potato. Butternut squash also tastes like sweet potato and a little bit like regular potato. And then spaghetti squash. And this tastes a little like regular potato, but also quite a bit like pasta or spaghetti. So how would you cook these just to get them cooked? Well, first wash them, and then you could put them on a tray, put it in the oven for 45 minutes at 350, so that's one way. You could also put it in the crock pot for a couple hours, like 2 to 4 hours. It doesn't even take all day. You can use a steamer. I have a steamer right here. I got it as a gift from my mom. I actually really love it. And you can put, I often cook the butternut squash, chop it up and put it in the steamer for about 20 minutes. And then a very simple way is to use your microwave, about 15 to 20 minutes here. Caution, you need to poke holes in the squash first, or else this could happen. Alright, so that is how you would cook the squash, and from there, what do you do with it? You could just put some salt and pepper on it, whatever, some seasonings that you like, or you can play around with it. So here are some ideas of some things that I made. So instead of steak and potatoes, try steak and squash, or make a stir fry with the squash. For something sweet, I took some butternut squash and put on top some cinnamon, apples, raisins, yogurt or cottage cheese, and some walnuts. I took some spaghetti squash and threw it together with pasta sauce and some sausage. That was really good. Also, I took that same turkey sausage there and made a breakfast bowl with egg whites and spaghetti squash. Next, I'll show you a recipe I made for Christmas, actually, and it turned out really well. Everyone really liked it. I was also happy to have it because it's a vegetarian protein dish. And so if you have any vegetarians ever coming over to your place for dinner, it might be something good to have on hand. So here's my spaghetti squash casserole recipe. What I first did was I got a very large spaghetti squash, about 2 to 3 pounds, and I put it in the crock pot for a couple hours to get it nice and soft. Then I cut it in half, removed the seeds, and scraped it down with a fork until I had just the spaghetti squash here in a bowl. It's actually 2 pounds worth that's left over, but it doesn't have to be exact. I'm going to set that aside while I work on the other ingredients first. The other ingredients include 8 eggs. You could definitely use just egg whites if you like. A jar of sun-dried tomatoes in olive oil. Of course, to cut even more fat, you could use the type without oil, but I'm going to use the oil. It tastes great. I'm going to combine that and add, this is actually a pound of frozen spinach that I thawed and then squeezed out all the water, and so this is what's left over from that pound. And then a package of cheese. Again, you could use low-fat cheese as another way to cut out some calories. Just an 8-ounce package of any type of cheese. I'll also add some seasonings, just some salt, pepper, and a couple other seasonings. So I'm just going to go ahead and combine those things right now. So I mixed up all the smaller ingredients in this bowl right here, and now it's time to combine with the spaghetti squash. So I mixed up all those ingredients, I went ahead and put it in this casserole dish, and now I'm just going to bake at 350 for about 30 minutes. So the spaghetti squash casserole is done. It turned out great. It smells delicious and I know it tastes really, really good. So I really recommend this recipe. At the end, I actually added a little extra cheese on top and then broiled it for a couple minutes. Comes out great. It took about 45 minutes to bake, actually. So that's that, all about squash today. Check out my website, MissMetabolism.com, and also my Facebook page. Let me know what ideas you might have for squash and keep following me there. Thanks.